Hey everybody, welcome to Regulatory Joe. I'm Joe Boyle, president of ClearFile, and on today's episode, we'll be discussing the QHP pre-certification and review process. When we talk about framing the QHP pre-certification and review process, it's really easy to want to treat hitting the submit button as the ultimate finish line. But truly, when your application has been validated, cross-validated, and submitted, it doesn't actually mean that it was certified. Could have been accepted, but not truly disposed and approved by the State Division of Insurance, or CMS. So that's why CMS and Divisions of Insurance, between submission and certification, review your products. So that's across your rate filings, form filings, and binder filings. Generally speaking, with all different timelines, and could be even more different between the individual and small group market, as well as on the exchange and off the exchange. And although we spend so much time in the pre-submission process, we do know that the review cycle takes a ton of work to actually get certified. While this oftentimes looks like a one-time event, it's an annual process that runs, generally speaking, through the months of May, from the earliest submission timelines all the way through the end of July or the end of August, which is where states will issue seemingly rounds of objections during that review process, or what CMS calls deficiencies, usually in the form of round 1, 2, and 3, offering timelines for issuers to respond for the respective filers and submitters. So here's how the review cycle actually works. Generally speaking, when CMS establishes reviewers to their filings, they assign multiple reviewers for one issuer filing. State-based exchanges may not have the same level of resources, singular individuals assigned to multiple filings at once, that could be trailing across multiple carriers. When we talk to some state divisions of insurance, there is a method to the madness of how filings are received, assigned, and reviewed based on seniority of the reviewer. So really, larger carriers with more complex filings will generally fall to more senior level reviewers with more depth of experience and state mandate or policy knowledge to be able to respond more quickly to the issuers that are receiving the objections. It's really important to know that although an issuer creates a true package of one product portfolio that may have a few different products across HMO, EPO, or PPO, with multiple plan designs, whether it's 12, 15, 20, 40, 60, or 100 plans across the board, using one state-based exchange that we worked with very intimately as an example, the state of Ohio. The state of Ohio is a state-based marketplace exchange, so what that means is that requires any issuer filing a rate form or binder or intends to offer a QHP for plan year 2027 must initiate those submissions in SIRF, the System for Electronic Rates and Form Filings. Those sets of filings in that product family is then assigned to a rate, form, and binder reviewer. That could be one or multiple individuals at the state. As we know, Ohio has one of the earliest filing deadlines of the year, even due in late April before the traditional May submissions are due. That did change due to some federal policy changes. Issuers must request plan transfer to HIOS, and those plans go under review by CMS. You're now managing two different expectations of the same portfolio that you're intending to offer. Now, we do know that the hierarchy of how the objection review process works really cedes to CMS. They've created the essential health benefits. They've created the baseline materials that issuers must follow for the ACA. So really, they look for those requirements, any net nuances that have been introduced through the Notice of Benefit payment parameters. When we talk about where a filer sits from a filing process, you have to be on high alert. We tell everybody, treat everything as urgent. And you have to be not just communicating, but over-communicating and being able to manage that against your reviewers. If you don't have a centralized repository or a way to manage communications or objections between your state reviewers and CMS, it's going to get very labor-intensive and very complicated, ultimately leading to risking submission responses, risking your deadlines. There is one overlaying nuance that filers need to be aware of. There is one type of validation that gives an impression of an objection or an error called a warning issued by CMS. They are generally created during the cross-validation process once plans are transferred to HIOS, and when a filer logs into the HIOS platform and completes ultimate cross-validation, that will inform the issuer of if warnings are available. CMS defines warnings as allowable callouts that CMS has ultimately questioned and has allowed issuers to provide a justification of why they're offering a certain benefit if it falls out of a certain range. What I encourage every single issuer to do is, if you are receiving warnings amongst your objections and amongst your questions, don't be confused and don't panic, but I would recommend to triage those warnings with your internal team and inform your state. You don't have to take true action on correcting them against the objections that you need to respond to, but it's a really good idea to be proactive for your regulators and reviewers and to clear up any confusion warnings may cause. Because what it may do is ultimately warrant justification forms you're submitting to your state that's ultimately only needed by CMS. So you don't want to confuse your state amongst the objection process. It's fast-paced, but ultimately manageable. So ClearFile does a great job disseminating objections and notifying users in real time, including deadlines of when to respond, allowing our filers to quickly triage and understand the differences between objections, true deficiencies, and what we just talked about, warnings. And we have one saying here at ClearFile: if we receive an objection once, we will never receive that same objection again. Objections are not to be treated like widgets. Yes, you need to complete them quickly. You need to respond to them quickly, but with quality follow-through. Really having a good understanding of the root cause of where these questions are coming from will save not just a few minutes next year, but what we quantify as hundreds of hours of time. That can be quantified as financial savings for your company, for your issuer, or non-financial savings through business process or elimination of risk of any audit. So recording objections is one thing, but it's very easy if you spend a little bit of focus time to understand, are the main purpose of my objections rooting from a pharmacy reason or a pharmacy deficiency? Is it internal, or is it something from my PBM that I could work with my PBM or a vendor partner to clear up year over year if it's a technical or a clerical issue? Now, if it's a plan design issue that falls outside of the scope of a state mandate or an essential health benefit, that's also very easy to map with your benefit configuration team, your plan policy team, and even your product development team. So understanding the objections and when they're issued will help you implement a sound project plan for next year. Quicker speed to market, quicker kickoffs. We recommend sometime around February 15th or March 1st to really start your project implementation. By that time, you should have a full review completed by all of your objections for all of your filings for this year. So it would warrant including all the stakeholders involved, so actuarial, benefits, product, configuration, or IT. Definitely carving out lessons learned this summer or fall will be a value add for your business. If I had to leave everybody with one final thought for this episode, submission and validation, as a reminder, we said it when we introduced this episode, is not the finish line. Yes, it's a large monumental achievement, heroic in some cases, meeting that first submission deadline, but you have to keep a persistent, disciplined process to get through the objection process and maintain these relationships with CMS and your regulators. So getting it right the first time is great, but then obviously setting goals for opportunity for improvement year over year, it's critical during this review period. Thanks everybody for listening in. Give us a like, give us a share, and we'll see you all next time.